I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion.
Okay, we shall start this session. Due to COVID vaccinations, I was not well for last 2 days. So this year, it's a very horrible situation for our country. Along with our work, we have to be at home. The first priority is that we have to be safe, not going out unnecessarily. And for a student, our goal is sit at home and try to do the best what we can, learn all those tools. As already I had said in the last session that can you hear me, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so till last sessions we had already completed all the microservices tools. And I had told you that before we wind up our this Spring Boot session, we will have a couple of more sessions now, and I shall try to integrate those services into an applications. So that is a kind of just recapping all the main topics what we had covered into our session. That will be interesting. Okay, so now let's start. In order to save time, just so that I can show you the maximum steps, I just now before some time I created a very simple applications. I'll show you, just try to understand the steps and note down also. And after this class gets concluded, all the summarized point of these applications will be also shared to you, and the code and everything. And you also have to try to create one very small applications that I shall see. Now first let's start the today's session's topics, that is how we are going to integrate. Look, this is the applications what I have created. In our applications you can see that there are 4 microservices I have created. First is ERiCK server. Second one is I have given the main module. Third is microservice 1. Fourth is user register. These are all basically ERiCK server. Why we are using ERiCK server? So that when 2 microservices communicates, remember, when 2 microservices communicates by using ERiCK server, we don't need to configure the instances of microservices by hard coding. So the best way to communicate among microservices, always you should use ERiCK server. So my suggestions will be, the first applications we have to create is ERiCK server. Already we have seen all these topics, remember guys. So from that angle, it's just like recapping how we are going to use, how we are going to integrate all. Okay. Whenever you have any kind of doubt, please raise. Please ask if you have. As I said, the first thing what you are supposed to create is ERiCK server. Okay. The first is you have to create ERiCK server. This is the first thing you have to create, ERiCK server, microservice. Everything is microservice. Everything we are creating using a Spring Boot applications. In a Spring Boot applications, we have to, the first thing what we are supposed to create is ERiCK server. Why we create ERiCK server? With the help of this, microservices communicates among each other. No hard coding of server instances will be required. So that kind of flexibility we have. Okay. Now let's see how we create ERiCK server. Go to a Spring Initializer. Go to a Spring Initializer and let me reset all that. Set all this. Set group IDs. Okay. And artifact ID is the basically project name. So the project which you are seeing, I have given the name ERiCK server. That means, hello, pardon?
So your screen is not visible. Your video is visible.
Just a minute, just a minute. Yeah, that's good you said. I forgot to share. Okay, just a moment. Let me share the desktop. Okay, now I think you would have got. Let me again repeat. As I said, let me repeat first. Already I had said in the previous session that today we shall integrate. Before explaining this code, I will just take you this current applications what you are seeing on my screen is running right now. I will show you the screen. Look here. This is the simple website I am creating using a Spring Boot. I will show you all the steps. You can very easily understand. The kind of displaying all this image and all this, for that you have to use all those different CSS, HTML, all those knowledge you should have. You can freely download many templates. That is the view, the kind of screen what you want to create. For that we don't have to spend time. For that, many free templates you can download from the internet. It is freeware, and nowadays you can even get all the responsive sites also. A responsive template, that means responsive template matlab kya hoga? The page what you are creating will be viewed as per the device. When you are opening the page on mobile, when you are opening on the tab, when you are opening on the, what is that called, laptop, the appearance will automatically be controlled, and that is called responsive website. So you can download any of the templates freely. It is available. You can search on the Google. So I also have taken a templates. I will show you. Just let's see. So this is the first screen what you are seeing. I have not completed everything. That is already it was there. I have set all this images, texts and all. So this is the first applications. When you run your application, this kind of page is visible. Now how it comes? Let's go back to our code first. Try to understand. It's very simple. Earlier, till previous class, we studied all the tools, different tools, more than a dozen of tools we had covered. And now those knowledges are going to be useful for creating the entire applications. I will take you to code first again. As already I said, when you create application, the first thing you create ERiCK server. Why you create ERiCK server microservice? In order to establish communications among services, no hard coding of server instances will be required. Remember, so it is best to use ERiCK server, as I love to use this first. Now next, after the ERiCK server is created, the second thing is main module. Main module ka matlab, what I have given is that this is the main page which is visible. Look at this, guys. To this application, the microservice, what is visible on this screen, that is not only service, it is having all kind of views. And do you know, for views what you have to do? You have to create all JSP files. That is, JSP is nothing but using CSS, HTML, we are doing all this coding, and in that JSP code we can have some Java language code as well. So for view I am using JSP. Are you getting? Let's go back to the code. As already I told you, there are 4 applications here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I will show you right now which all are running. First, second, third, I am just closing down the third one. I am shutting down the third. So how many applications are running? Just see carefully. The main module. Oh, sorry, the ERiCK server got terminated. That I never wanted to terminate that. Let me just restart user applications, or else let me shut down all the applications. Let me close all the applications. So now all the applications have been terminated. The first application is ERiCK server. Wherever you feel any kind of difficulties, please raise. I shall explain the thing. Okay. First thing is ERiCK server. For creating ERiCK server, what you have to do? Go to Spring Boot, start.spring start.spring.io, that is called Spring Initializer. Give the group name, artifact name what I had given is ERiCK server. Then select the version 8, let it be jar packaging, and here you add dependencies called ERiCK server. Look, this is ERiCK server. Just add one dependency, that's all. Add dependency, generate, look here, as I press generate, so one jar file will get created, download it and explore it. That already steps I have shown you. I'm not downloading right now because already I have downloaded, just to show you the steps I followed. When I gave name ERiCK server, any name you can specify. ERiCK. Look, here the name I have given ERiCK server. Selected, added these dependencies and do the generate button. Look, the name what you are mentioning with that, it is giving one because already there is ERiCK server zip file is in there. So after you download, what you have to do? You have to explore. After ERiCK server, you have to explore. After exploring, you will get this file, and then Open a Spring Boot and add the project. After adding project, when you add ERiCK server, you will get this project. Then you go to applications file and you have to add this dependency. Enable ERiCK server. That's all. Not that's all. There is one more steps. That is configurations property file. Are you getting? Already we have done it. So it is a recapping kind of thing today. It becomes, and you will see how I am going to integrate. Some few steps will be new. Okay. So this is the first thing what I did. Secondly, after adding this annotation, you have to go to property file, and these steps are very important. Look here. Always when you create application in Spring Boot, you have to specify the application's name, and for ERiCK server, always try to give the same port 8761 by default. Also ERiCK server runs on 8761, but you specify 8761. And these two lines are very important, guys. Remember, if you don't specify this line, then the ERiCK server applications what you are creating, that also will be detected as a client. So when you are saying this false, that means this application is what we are creating right now is not a client. By default, this parameter is true. By default, this both the parameter is true. That means actually this parameter has to be set to true for client applications, not server applications. And by default, it is already true, so we don't use at all. So remember, for creating ERiCK server, it is must that you mention these two configurations parameters, then save and run the applications. Save and run the application. That's all. When you run the applications, go here. Currently, all the applications are closed. I am going to site. Look here. Let me refresh. Let me refresh the page. No page is there. Let me refresh the page. Let me refresh the page. No page is, nothing is visible. Now, come back to our this Eclipse. Let's run this. Run this server app first. Okay. Once ERiCK server is executing, we can go to browser just to view. Look at here. I have refreshed. So this screen comes. I have to run this ERiCK server at port is 8761 that already we had mentioned. Look here, there is no instance right now. Thus, that is only to view purpose, only to check it's running. That's it. Now, once the ERiCK server is on, as already I told you, that's all. There is nothing to explain into this. It is minimized, and I am closing both the screen from here because it is my server is running. Let's come back to the main model. This is, you have to try to understand very clearly. This main module, the name what I have given is a client microservice. Client microservice. The view which is having view, actually to work with the any software, we should have good interface. And in web-based applications, the kind of a screen what we are creating with all kind of beautification settings using CSS, HTML components and many images, etc. That's a view. So basically that is the interaction screen between myself, that is user, and computer. Either through website you view all the informations, or through website you enter some parameters, like for example you wanted to get back your result, then you will be entering your what is that called, roll number or registration number or some other parameters as well. Then once you hit the key submit button, you get back the result fetched from the server. So that is why I said it's a client. So we are going to create client, and for creating client applications we have open fame client, or already fame client topic we had studied. So for creating fame client, what we have to do is that, let's see first of all the applications. So for creating fame client, look at this. When you wanted to create this client application, so second thing is what we have to do is that, already what I was showing you, that first step you have to create is a ERiCK server, and second step you have to create the main applications, main view. And this main view is basically nothing but, guys, it's a client microservices. So that is called using fame client. So it is a client microservices. In short, just I'm writing MS for microservice. So this, for creating client applications, client applications, what all dependencies are needed? That's the main thing. So always note down, always important is what? Even if you would have, some of you would have missed any number of classes, all the videos and all the steps, PPT slides, what I used to create and show you every day, that has been shared on the Google Drive, and the Google Drive link is also available on the WhatsApp app, हम लोग का जो WhatsApp group है उस पे. So main thing is what applications we are going to create and what all dependencies are needed. So main, this is a basically client app what we are creating. That means this will put a request for getting services. So it is generating a request and requesting to another service. That another service will return back the result, and that returned result has to be consumed in by the client applications. So that's kind of flow we should try to understand. Sorry. So just a minute. Okay. So this is first of all, let's see what all dependencies are needed for this, for creating client. Again we have to go to this is, you will specify the name, and then यहाँ पे this is a client applications or main client, anything name we can specify. Main client, anything. Main thing is what all dependencies needed for this. The first dependency is always to create any Spring Boot application is a Spring Web. Always you should put that. Second dependencies will be, because every applications, not only this, guys, remember, note down. After creating ERiCK server, whatever applications we are creating, all micro applications are going to become, all microservices going to become client of ERiCK server. So for doing this, while creating always you will add, if it is full web, you need to have this, and always, because all are going to become client of this. So always you have to add this ERiCK discovery client. Remember, this second configuration, this second dependencies will be required by all the microservice. because it is going to run under this ERiCK name server. So all the microservices will become client of ERiCK name server. So this dependencies becomes mandatory. Remember. Secondly, let's see the code. Look at this. All the kind of dependencies you can see in the POM file. Look here. What all it have? This is for client. This is for a Spring Wave. This is because of a Spring Wave dependencies. This is ERiCK server client, and the these applications right now what I am creating already I said, because it is a client, so this its job of this applications what we are having right now will be to just create all the views, generate all the kind of requests, pass on to server. So it's a client application, so always for that we should have open fin client. So these are dependencies which is very important. This dependency, the third dependency, God, look at this. The first dependencies will be required for almost all Spring Boot services. Second will be required by all the, first will not be required by the servers. Only client side where we have a Spring MVCs and all to be used. The third is required by only client. So in my applications, one is client and all are services. This is putting request to others. Okay. Secondly and thirdly, and for that the third dependencies are needed. Second dependencies for all applications, for all microservices, because all the microservices will become the client of ERiCK name server. And the third dependencies, sometimes this is also very important, Spring Boot dev tools. Already we had seen all this. Why the fourth dependency is that? When you have the fourth dependencies, then because of this, while coding, when you do any kind of changes and do the save, automatically the server will be restarted. You don't need to stop and restart the server. So for fast developing, this fourth dependencies are needed. Okay. Is there any trouble in understanding? Fourth dependencies for automatic executions of your, not executions. Once we start the server, automatically it will be restarted. We don't need to stop and start. So the development becomes faster. The from bottom I am reading, and from bottom second is for client applications, and from bottom the third one is from top second is for making client to ERiCK server, and the first one for all Spring applications, all of our Spring Boot applications which is having certain views and all. Okay, so all these dependencies के बाद यहाँ पे जैसे हम generate करेंगे, one ये compressed file with main client will get created. In my project, I had given the name main module. So when I downloaded, I got this main module file, and after uncompressing, I am having main module. Look at this. And once that is uncompressed, thereafter you have to go to your Eclipse and here say export, and after exporting you have to select this Maven under Maven existing project, then go to next, and here you locate, browse which project you want from here, and then you have to do that. Already I have done. So let me first of all explain, and in front of you one microservice I shall create and add it. Okay, let's understand first. So this is all the dependencies, 4 dependencies what uh, I have shown you. This all four dependencies I have added for what? For creating, look at this, for creating this main views, that is your client applications. So these are all 4 dependencies we have created. Spring Web dependencies, then we have created ERiCK server, then we have OpenFin client and this. So the 4 dependencies, guys, what we have used for creating this client applications. Okay, now let's go to the code. So once this is done, the next thing what we have to do is that always once uncompressed and imported into the Eclipse, always we have to set applications, this thing properties. Always the first thing is Spring Boot applications name. That is for that you have to give this parameters spring.application.name, and always I prefer the same name of this project so I do not have any confusion. That I have selected port 9090 for this, and these entries are very important. Look at this, guys, these entries for views. This is first day I am explaining. I had not explained in the class. In those classes we had discussed about all the tools, and today is the fine day of integrating all that. So as already I said, my main model is a client whose task is to create a views, to create different pages. And for that, so just like say for using JSPs, all the views. So where I have kept JSP files? I will show you first. Let's see what you have to do is that you have to go to SRC. When you import applications from spring.io, when you get the project from Spring Initializer, in that web app folder will not be there. So you have to create web app folder. Inside web app you have to create web-inf, and inside web-inf you have to create views. So these folder you have to create, and this is the path which has to be specified. Spring dot mbc dot views dot prefix is equals to slash. This is, so by default always the folder name has to be web app. Remember, guys, for creating JSP servlet, these trees, the file paths are predefined. Names are very important. So you have to specify web app, inside web app web-inf, inside web-inf, and a small capital. You have to be careful with that, and views. And inside this view folder, I am having all these JSP files. Okay. The second thing is you have to provide the suffixes. That means when you are opening a file, when you are passing request, what will be the extension of that file? So for JSP, the extension is .jsp. So that is why I put. Then last but not least, this last is very important, guys. Every page will have some static informations like images, JavaScript files. JavaScript also code also will be there. You must be knowing client side. For client side scripting, we may use JavaScript directly, or we may use jQuery library of JavaScript. We can download them from internet. Now these all, look, inside SRC folder there will be main folder. Inside Java main folder, there will be Java folder, there will be resource folder. ये दो folder पहले से होगा, but this web app folder will not be. So we have to create this portion. We have to create this web app inside main. We have to create web app and this, and all the static informations are inside resources. It is mandatory that inside resource already a static folder is earlier, static and template ये दोनों पहले से ही होता है. Now inside static you have to place CSS file, images file, even any JavaScript code you wanted to place. Do right click and here new folder and JS. If you want to place JavaScript, let me write JS. And all the JavaScript language code file I shall be putting inside JS. So the last line means that all the informations inside resource will be set automatically. A star means everything. You don't have to one by one set all those files. So these informations are very important. Now, once this is done, remember, for creating this, we downloaded the project from a Spring Initializer by adding these 4 dependencies, but few more dependencies will be needed in order to run JSP file. Look, I still haven't started, so it will not be showing anything. You can just refresh, no instances are running. Okay. So, what I was telling you that you have to set all that. Now, in addition to these 4 dependencies, 2 more dependencies will be needed. For that, we have to get those from Maven Central Repository. Let's see the POM file. I shall share this project after the session gets completed. Like, I'll show you. These, the dependencies what I have highlighted, just try to see. This is the dependencies already. There is it has been commented for executing Tomcat embedded Jasper. This dependencies is needed for executing your JSP file, and this JSTL, this dependency is needed so that we can use some kind of, some tags that will make our creations of JSP is much easier. When microservice will return data, remember, when client requests to microservice and microservice returns data, maybe in JSON format or any other format, or maybe directly creating some array of what is that called, objects, that return data can be put into the JSP by using tags, different tags that will make our program easier. So these these dependencies what I have highlighted, you have to just copy paste, add into POM file, save the POM file, then automatically through it will be the task of Maven to add all these dependencies, get it from this specified locations. these dependencies are not present into that Spring initializer. They have to be taken from another source. Okay, guys. So this is one of the ways of creating JSP files. In modern age, there is another tools also. That tool I shall be showing you tomorrow. So, so because of this, once you add this and thereafter creating this views, when you start the applications main module, let me run the main module. When you run the main module, let's see. Still it is executing. Now see here, ERiCK server and main module both are running. Let's go to browser and refresh this. You can see here main module has started at port 9090. When I run port 9090, let's just see this page is coming. Which is this page? Index.php. Index.jsp. How it is coming, from where it is coming, and already I had showed you this is index.jsp code. This HTML code is using this CSS file. Where is this CSS file? The CSS style.css is inside CSS, that is inside in sources already. And where is sources? Inside this static. See here, I am not mentioning a static. जबकि ये देख रहे हो CSS कहाँ है? स्टाइल कहाँ पे है? स्टाइल CSS के अंदर है, CSS स्टैटिक के अंदर है, स्टैटिक रिसोर्स के अंदर है. But here we are simply saying resources / CSS / this. This already know that by default this it has to come, CSS folder must come inside this. Okay, so that is the kind of stuff you have to remember. If at all any, look here, all the images are here. These are all images, arrows, menus, arrow.png and all. All these images you can see in this code we have used. I'll show you, just wait. Look here. This is demo_img. You can see here, this is the image. So how you have to mention? You have to mention the complete relative path, and always you have to have CSS, JavaScript file, CSS files, and JavaScript code file inside a static folder of resources. So now, as already I said, there has to be a controller class. We have already created. So for handling all this flow, there has to be a controller created. Let's see. This is the controller. There are two folders, one applications folder, another one is controller folder. Let me close the other files. This controller is the main mapping. All the mappings has to be mentioned inside this controller. So this is the first mapping, default mapping. See here in default mapping. One more thing, guys, remember. The views what we are creating, that should not be a REST controller. That has to be just a controller. What is the difference between controller and REST controller? Please note down. What is the difference between controller and REST controller? When we are creating a views, It has to be a controller. But when you are creating just like services that which just accepts data and send request and response, no views, so that has to be created as a REST controller. So that is why first day we are using in our tutorial, that is controller. So as soon as you say return index, that does not mean that only index word will be returned. Automatically it will search index.jsp. So the index dot, by saying return index, means it will return index.jsp view. Are you getting my point? When you have to create controller, it has to be qualified with @controller. Then you have to create these mappings. And you have to write down the JSP file which has to be returned, which has to be viewed. Okay, and that is why, remember, when we are running, this is default. After slash there is nothing. That means when the first page is executed, it will actually run that index page. So that is the first page which is viewed on the screen. Now in this screen, look here, I have had one register here. When I am placing cursor at this point, look here, something is displayed at these locations. At the bottom of this thing, you can see localhost :9090/register. That means what? It is going to call register rather than typing here. I'm just having hyperlinked. So it is calling register. So it is mapped to register. Look at this, go back to the controller. The second map is register. Look here, let me show you this. Register. Second, third is login. Fourth is logout. So when you say register, what happens? It is returning register. Means what? It is returning the view. What is that view? Let me have one more comment. It is returning the view. कौन सा view? register.jsp. So register.jsp has to be present here, otherwise you will get error. Look at this. Here you have register.jsp. Let's see what is the code of register.jsp. This is simple code. We are having HTML things, all these different divs, and some of the both थोड़े से line है. Let us go to the screen first. Let me press register. So here no services. The main module, the client services which we are running, उसी के दूसरे पेज खुल गया. That is next views. And now from this view, I have connected two microservices here. So right now the microservice which is running, which you are seeing on the screen, it is client applications. Now when you press register and register one, there are two, register and register one. Simply I created two services. Let me press this button. Look here. It is mapped to do register, but it is giving error. No fallback method has been used. In the previous class we had used how to control fallback method. Can anyone tell me what is the answer for this, for handling fallback? Do you remember anyone? For that we have to use hystrix. For that we have to use hystrates. Okay. That I haven't used today. That is why I said once you understand the entire skeleton, just I'll do 2 additions tomorrow. If I would have done that fallback method, then this error page wouldn't have been displayed. So when we create real applications, it is our responsibility to take care. Now why this error came? Because it is calling the kind of services. Here you see here the URL is do register. Let me go to the controller code and see where the once just a minute, where the do controller is there. Do controller URL mapping. See here do controller. And do controller is calling to whom? So this I have given you. From this line onwards, this client application is calling to another microservices, and every microservices are independent, and it is calling to which microservices? Let's see. This belongs to let me do this cut. Look here. So 2 microservices I have used here. One mic, and for that microservices, always the skeleton what we have already discussed, that for every microservices you have to create a proxy server. Proxy matlab representative. So the actual server to which it is going to communicate. So one service, and that server, one microservices is having 2 methods to be called. One is do register mapping, another one is with that do register 1 mapping. To understand this, it's better to see the proxy of this. Look at this, press right control button and see here. When you press this, open implementation. This proxy for user register.java. And where is user register? User register? This is the microservices what you can see. Every microservices are independent application, and we are running only 2 applications. This 2 we have not created, executed. Let me run this, and also you can see on the name server only 1 applications is running. Apart from ERiCK name server, only main module applications is running. That's the client applications. Let me run this first. How do we execute? We execute the applications. Let's execute, run. So it has got executed. Let's see. Look here, guys. Already there was main model running. Now one more user register has become the client of ERiCK name server. So 2 applications are there. Now, as already I said, when I say register, when I press this, let's refresh it. Let's refresh. Still it is generating error. It's we will just close the applications. Everything is well tested. Now see, we got this. It takes some time. Look here. Earlier तो हम लोग जब हम प्रेस कर रहे थे, remember, जब हम रजिस्टर 1 प्रेस कर रहे थे क्या हो रहा था, यहाँ पे एरर आ रही थी. Now that is what is called here another applications, another microservices. That result is you can see here, and I'll show you. Just wait, let me show you how from where this result is coming. That is what I told you. I'm going to integrate. I have not done much implementations today into the same applications, which otherwise the code would have become more large. More things would have been included. That into this today's code itself, I shall add more things and again demonstrate you tomorrow in the next session, that is. So look at this. Let's go to this. What is this user? It is running at which port? The user register microservice is running at which port? Let's see just. It's running at port 9090. I'll show you. If I give a call to register service of port 9090, what is the service? This microservice is returning the result. Server colon registration done. Now see here. क्या ये दोनों ये मैसेज सेम है कि नहीं है? So from where this data is coming? Look here. To the applications which is running at port 9090, it's showing some the result. From where this result it is getting? It is fetching the result from another microservice which is running at port 9091. Is that clear? Now, when here I am having hyperlinking. When I do this, I'm going back to the home page. Let's do again. Register. Let's do here. Done. Are you convinced? Now, just wait. Should I? Let me just back. Press register 1. When I say register 1, it is second application of the same microservice. But register 1 was something different. Let me pass parameters to this. मान लो Pranav Hari is the name I have given and some password. This is for new user registration. So first thing is, first our goal is what? The client microservice will pass to the user registration microservice all this data, and the task of user registration microservice is to get back all the data, do connection with database and save all that. So in our today's goal is to pass data. The saving stuffs I am not doing today, because for saving stuffs, some more things are there, some technical things are there. Basically for that we have to use Hibernate, JPAs, Spring JPA and all. That is another module, that is another course. In for all these advanced Java modules, you would have learned, you would have heard these different terms: Spring, Spring Boot, Hibernate, Spring JPA and all. So these are all different modules, and our concern was Spring Boot mainly. But without Hibernate services, without Spring JPA, you will not have a lot of flexibilities as far as it is concerned working with database. But still, to a very precise points, some important things we shall be discussing tomorrow, and we shall be integrating. Let me press register 1. What happens? See here. Now it is displaying server, Pranav Hari and registration. इसका proof क्या हुआ? This client is sending all the data. Client मतलब client microservice. So one microservice is passing all these data to another microservice. That another microservice receives all the data, does processing and returns back the result. Whatever the result I am getting back, this is get back to the do register 1. Let's go back. So when I press register 1, this is register 1 button is mapped to, now let me show you the code. So this is the register dot what is that, JSP page. Register dot JSP page is here. Just see this carefully, guys. Here there are two forms, one form and second form. In this form, the first form is calling do register. It has been mapped to do register, and second form is mapped to do register 1. And first form is containing one button जिसका नाम आपने देखा था स्क्रीन पे register, and the second form is containing one button that is submit ये register 1, है ना? Look, it is like this. ठीक है ना? Let me just save it. Okay, so you can see this register 1. When I press register 1, it will call to which URL? Do register 1. When I press register, it will call to which URL? Do register. Where this URL will be? To main modules controller. Name also have a specified main module. So main module controller, you can see here there is a mapping do register. Another mapping is do register 1. So when I press button showing register 1, it is mapped to do register. And when it is mapped to do register, let's see. Now this is the very important thing. How do you communicate? How one service communicate to another service? It is very simple. For that only we have studied Fein client and all. So look at this, guys. What is PS1? So you have to create an object of proxy for user register. So for that, what you have to do is that you have to create a proxy for user register as an interface, and this will contain all methods declarations only which actual server has. So proxy of server, proxy का मतलब ही हो गया the representative of actual server. So actual server, देखो यहाँ पे जरा गौर से, the actual server is user registration. Look at this controller. This controller, this microservice is having two methods, register user and registered user 1. Registered user is not receiving any parameters. Registered user 1 is receiving two parameters. Both I have created to show you just how we pass parameters. How one service passes parameters to another service. So for that, look at this. User registrations. Let me close this. Now see here. This is actual controller and this is proxy for that. Actual controller of that second user register microservice, and this is for that proxy. तो इसी का ये proxy है. So while creating proxy, you just what you do that whatever the methods this service microservice controller is having, and look at this. These are all now the annotated with REST controller. So what REST controller means? No views. It just receives and response. That is request and response. Get data, get the informations, fetch those data and return back those. Remember. So for that, we have already mapping. These are all different methods, different URLs of user controller service. So regarding users, maybe to create new user, maybe to delete user, maybe to suspend user, to maybe view all the users, maybe to change the profile of users, all kind of informations, all the kind of services this particular microservice will contain. So every microservice should focus to a specific job, remember. So all kind of job regarding user will be provided by this microservice. Are you getting? Now, so the task is how one microservice communicates to another. And for that only I was showing you the main applications controller. So these are the three files which is very important. This main controller and proxy, these are all at client applications, and this is another applications. So look at this. When I am calling this do register URL, when you are calling do register URL, go to here, how do register? This register is giving request to do register. And by do register, what we are doing? By do register, we are calling method of which object? Proxy for user register object. Is it object? See, we have created interface. And can you create object of interface? Can you create object of interface? Answer is no. We cannot create object of interface. So what happens here? Here the role of Spring Boot. Spring Boot automatically create objects of proxy for user register interface. How Spring Boot creates object of interface? Is it possible? Answer again no. So what Spring Boot does for us is that Spring Boot creates a class. That class implements all the method of this interfaces and then creates object of that and injects here. That is called IOC. This is called injections of object injection. These are the concept. These are the beauty. These are the power of Spring Boot. This is so that object is automatically created and injected. So because this current application is using two microservices. That is why for every microservices there has to be different proxies, separate proxies. So that is why there is one proxy server for user register, another proxy server for microservice 1, and that still I haven't executed. I'll show you. Let's go to here. See here, let's go to home page, the main page. Let's see here home page. Here you have, look at this. This is calling service 1 and service 1 is down. This microservice is down, guys. Let me of this microservice. That means let me start this microservice. This is a service. Let me start this microservice. Let me execute this microservice. Now service is up. Let's see. Refresh. Look here. Main module. This is my first, which is running at port 9090. Then microservice 1 is running at 9092. Every service, every applications will run at different port. Then user register is running at port 9091. It displays in alphabetical order, lexicographical order. Okay. Now can I check whether yes, now this 9092 service is available. Let's come back to our client and let's check by pressing service 1. Is it coming or not? Look here, it came. Once the service is down, let's go back. Once the service is down, we are working in these applications. So every services are running independently. That's the beauty of, and this is what is called microservice. You don't have a mega service, one large service, one large applications. The role itself of microservices means, aim itself of microservices means creating down a smaller, separate, independent applications running independently. And advantage is their maintenance independently. They will be started up and they will be brought down. So if any service is down, only that applications will not be running. Let me make it down. Let me down the service. Let me here refresh. It's refreshing. Let me just down the service. Go here and pick up this microservice 1 applications. Let me stop. So you can see here microservice 1 is down. Let me see. Go to the browser and refresh the page. Look here, you got the error. Why you got the error? In this still it will be showing in the client because with the client the service had registered. Look here. When I pressed hit this will not give you anything because that service is down. Is it giving? Look, it's working. User registration, is it working? It's also working. But what about this service 1? It is down. It will not work. So that's the proof we got. So my site is working, but my site, that is my application, is using another applications. That application is down. So this is not the fault of my site. But remember, as a developer, I would have taken care of these situations. When this service is down, what I want to do? Maybe for example, if you are going to a hotel and if it is closed, shall we be hungry? Or we have to do some alternative things? Let's restart. Let me restart. Service 1. Micro service 1. Let me restart. I'll show you once again. If I could be able to explain you That is sufficient for me. But I feel very pity. People are not damn serious. So we are not making some fruitful results more interesting. What can I do? The things are limited. Now let me refresh. Let's check this. It was not working earlier. Now we are getting this. That means my service is working. Now when you see here, now I press again. We are getting this. Now when our service was down, if we could have used hystrates in order to handle when the service is down, then the error kind of page, that ugly page would not have been visible. Now let me make it down once again. Let me down once again. Select this microservice, down it. That is close this. Now press this. We will get this ugly page. Is it good for a website developer? Is it good for a software developer? Or should have been it handled? The better thing should have been handle it. One goal which I am setting today, and then secondly, so that error shouldn't come again and again. Let me restart the applications. Application got started. Come here. This independently I have checked all the service also, but ये ऐसे नहीं होगा. My site is this is running. When I make my site live, only this will be exposed to user. User may not be knowing anything about these other services provided by this, and these services can be provided to anyone. For example, just wait. Myself is selling a product. I can sell the product through Amazon. I can sell that product through eBay. I can sell the product through Flipkart. Myself, if I am selling, how all these three vendors will come to know? And there the microservice role becomes important. I shall create a microservice, and my microservice will be available to Flipkart, it will be available to Amazon, it will be available to anyone. Remember. Now they are going to use. They are going to use. Remember, whatever information I passed, it is visible. So let's consider this service one is me, and this is your applications. Is this live? Yes, it is live. So when you are pressing this, now my service, whatever the result it has returned, that is visible to your applications. Let's make it more clear. When I say register, when I say press name, I'm using the another service of the same microservice applications. And there, what kind of data I'm passing? It is returning back. So that communications point should be discussed once again. We're going to main module, and main module go to the controller. What controller does you know? It creates, of course, it gets object of this and calls the method, passes the information if it is. Here there is no information, nothing is being passed. So now this is how it communicates, and to the service, the main role is of proxy server. So the proxy, in proxy through main client, you have to specify which is the server application's name. So the server application's name was what? User registrations. Look, I have the name which I had given is user registrations. You can, if you want me to show you, just go and see the applications properties. You can see user applications, user register. So user register microservices running. That so using faint client dependency, my microservice whose name is main model is going to communicate this user register applications, and right now it is having these two services to be called. And here always to pass parameter, you have to use request param annotations. And here you have to specify the kind of parameters name which you are passing. And the same has to be used at microservice that this service, this controller you can see. Look here. These names are very important. So it is better that create at service. So remember guys, it is not that blindly any applications, any people can use my service. For using my service, I must provide you the interface. For using my service, I must provide interface. So any of the third party developer, any of the third party client, if they are creating their own microservice, they will provide me this proxy code. And this is the proxy code which I have to integrate into add it into our applications. And in fact, this is responsible to communicate unless we have this proxy entries. It cannot do communications with another microservice. So this few skeleton you have to remember. This few assumptions we have to remember. This is what is called framework. When we are working into this environment, we have to learn all set of rules, all set of annotations, all set of configurations parameters, and all the structure. So guys, I tried my best to show you integrations of microservices into my applications. So today we integrated, and in this way we can go on creating any number of services. So tomorrow I shall show you create a couple of services more in front of you, add all this, and the main concentrations tomorrow for me will be that through services. Today I'm not doing any computational job along with the suitable data structures and all, database and all. So let's see, I'll show you the controllers. In this controller, what I am doing, whatever mess I am getting request from there, I am returning some messages. So here, whatever the username I am getting there, I am returning back the same username. That is why you can see on this screen, when I am going back here, let's say I am adding Prince Kumar. Look, register 1. I am having Prince Kumar. So by this I could just show you that how the parameters are passed and received. Tomorrow what we have to do is that some database applications needs to be done. So here kind of database connections, and then whatever the data we are getting from there, registering means what? They need to be stored into the database, and once it is given permission by administrator, you can do login and all those stuffs. So database operations we shall be doing tomorrow. That is one alterations. Second alteration, if any of the microservice is failed, if any of the microservices failed, then that situations has to be handled. So for that there has to be fallback method, where the fallback method has to be placed into the controller, because if any of the request is done, request is done from here onwards, remember guys. So if any of this method fails, then for that there has to be a fallback method. So if this method fails, that fallback method will be called. So fallback method and database operations, these will be task of demonstrations tomorrow. That is what we shall show you. So today the best thing which I could explain you, how do we create microservices. So here one is, the first one is server, the second one is client app, and these are all server services. ERiCK name server is different, don't get confused with that. These are the three belows are microservices, and in all I've used dev tool dependency. That is why if when I do any config changes, just when I save this server gets refreshed automatically. I don't need to stop and restart again. Let me have interactions. Have you? I could let us conclude and stop this class. After this class, I shall share the code, and tomorrow these two changes I shall do, and then we shall. I can just request you guys to sit and develop. It is up to you. Okay. Good night.